Ah, Reddit, the front page of the internet, a place I've personally wasted probably hundreds to maybe thousands of hours just mindlessly consuming content. A place home to some of the most opinionated people on the planet, and today I'm gonna redesign it. So, in my experience, Reddit is definitely one of those tools that has an inexplicably bad UX. I think it's something to do with the fact that they're a huge company with lots of internal political forces driving priorities in a weird way. It's easy to redesign Reddit for someone like me who can just make something in Figma, but turning it into a reality is a total different story. Here we've got, old Reddit, which I would argue is, although a little less clean, much more usable. And then we have new Reddit, which has more of a modern aesthetic, but just comes with a boatload of bad ideas. These huge content areas and just everything's like clamoring for my attention. There's no clean flow of content. Lots of problems. So we're going to take a stab at redesigning it and probably upset some people, which is good for the content, get some engagement. But here we are again in Figma. I've essentially copied Reddit's brand guidelines. This is essentially the color scheme you're probably used to seeing if you use Reddit regularly. With one major change, I've decided to, in order to mimic Reddit's nice rounded aesthetic, the text Reddit is usually quite rounded. I swapped out the heading text from what they were using previously, which was... I can't remember, it was similar to Arial, to a font I really like, Varela Round. And that's going to be our primary header font that we're going to use throughout the site as we redesign it. So here we are, I've got the old Reddit. I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into it and see what we come up with. As I mentioned earlier, we're using old Reddit as a reference here because the UX is actually quite good. It's a very easy forum to just browse content. That's why it became so popular, right? It's just simple and an easy list of links. So we're largely going to be leaning on that for influence and just adding a layer of polish on top. One of the things that frustrated me about even old Reddit was that it was very difficult to find the search for that specific subreddit. And that's why it's emphasized very significantly in this new secondary navigation. You'll notice this little panel that I'm popping open to deploy or introduce icons into the flow here in Figma. It's actually a plugin that connects with the free version of Font Awesome. I'll link it in the description of the video if you want to go check it out. Something that really helps me when I'm designing content like this, which is intended to be kind of one of many, in this case it's one of many links, is to just kind of pull your head back from the screen a little bit and look at it, and then realize what you're noticing first, and then ask yourself, does that thing I noticed first make sense? In this case, the thumbnail and the title are of course the two things you want people to notice, along with the votes on the left, and those are the first things I notice when I zoom out here. And you'll notice I did cheat a little bit here. I've got a big list of post titles and thumbnails that I'm using just for the reference here to make this easier for everyone. So here my squirrel brain's trying to figure out what to go on the right, and again I'm leaning on the source reference material here. Old Reddit did a good job of putting some context for that subreddit just on the right there. Because from a user's perspective, if I visit a subreddit, I kind of want some context to explain what it is I'm looking at. So there's a lot of ironic subreddits on Reddit, so oftentimes this is kind of essential to get people's understanding. So just kind of building this out, but making it a little more clean and not designing it such that it doesn't really pull the user's attention too much. Here you're about to see me kind of realize that there's a lot of empty space in the middle up here. So I'm thinking about putting the subreddit picker in the middle, some kind of mechanism for users to move away from our all into the other subreddits available for browsing. Of course, they could just click the subreddit link in the individual posts themselves, but this is something I thought was missing with the core, I guess, front page of Reddit. There's no way for users to engage with other subreddits. New Reddit does this quite well, but it's a sidebar on the left that takes up a huge amount of the user's screen just to show them all the subreddits. So I'm subduing it away inside a little toggler, which allows people to open up and browse the Reddits and then dig in deeper on different veins of content when it makes sense to them. Generally speaking, when you have lots and lots of filters like this, you usually want to put them inside some kind of hierarchy. And again, New Reddit does this quite well. They've taken their subreddits, found some general categories that they fit into, and then displayed those categories to the user, allowing them to go into whatever makes sense to them, and then click on the subreddits from there. So I copied that for our little pop over here, and I'm using it as well. And of course, a demystifying design redesign would be incomplete without a little lower right-hand corner floating icon that allows you to do something. In this case, it's just submitting a post. Obviously, that's how Reddit gets their content. It's all user-generated, so having a control to submit something from any screen on the page kind of made sense. All right, and there we have it. Again, there haven't really been very many changes to the overall structure of Reddit, and that's mostly because, as I mentioned earlier in the video, Reddit, the original Reddit, the UX architecture is actually quite good. Everything flows very naturally where you would expect it to be, much like you were reading a newspaper. But what I've done here is I've added much more polish. You can see that this experience feels a lot more organized, and that's mostly because I've just lined everything up. There's a simple grid that the human eye uses when it reads these kinds of things, and this just clicks right into it. So there's a couple significant changes. I've given a simple way for users to search a subreddit. That's always been a pain point for me on Reddit. Switching between subreddits is something I kind of stole from the new Reddit, but I wanted to I didn't want it to be persisting in the left side navigation the whole time, because the majority of the user's experience is going to be consuming the content, right? But of course, here we are with the search subreddit module, which is going to help them find more niche content that fits their interests. And then one of the main functions of Reddit, well, not if you're me, but if you're a power user of Reddit and you want to submit content, you have that persistent button there that helps you interact with that side of Reddit. But like we did in the Steam store, This is not detracting from the user's attention. It's not pulling their attention down to click a button. It's just there, persistent. You know it's there. You can forget about it. And if you want to engage with that side of Reddit, it's all there. So I hope you like this. Again, as usual, let me know what kind of bad experiences, just crap UX you see in the world, and I'll bake it into another video. Hope you've been enjoying the series so far. Look out for another one next Tuesday. Take care, guys.